I had no idea that prepping the floor in our schoolie was going to take so long or be so tiring. The question is though, will it be worth it in the end? Welcome to the Hippie, Geeks, and our schoolie conversion, Soul the Sunchaser. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to catch all our new content. In our previous video, we managed to get all the flooring removed throughout the schoolie, which wasn't without its own challenges. However, now that the plywood is gone, we need to deal with what has been left behind. There was a lot less rust than we expected, and it was all surface rust. It was there, however, and we wanted to get the worst of it taken off before we hit it with a rust converter. After trying out a couple of different tools, the angle grinder proved itself to be the best one for the job yet again. I had a thick grinding disc on there, and it did a pretty good job of blasting through the rust. It was also able to reach into the seams on the floor pretty well to get the rust out of the cracks. Make sure that you are wearing ear protection, eye protection, and a particulate mask for this process. It is incredibly loud, and the amount of metal dust that gets kicked up would surprise you. We were doing this at the end of June, and it was toasty out. I took regular breaks, both to hydrate and to give my upper body a rest. It is a lot of work holding the angle grinder in front of your body for that long, and it really starts to wear on you. I also cleaned up as I went, the metal particulates all settle out, and I wanted to keep the space at least reasonably clean. I would just pick an area, get it ground down, and then move on to the next space. The worst areas by far were near the doors and the space where the heater core used to be. The heater had been slowly leaking under there for a long time. You could tell by how rotten the plywood there had been and how much rust was left behind. Luckily though, none of the rust was bad enough to have eaten through the floor. By far, the worst part of the process though is getting up the tar-like substance that they use to seal the edges of the plywood sheets. There is no good, easy way to get it removed that I could figure out. I ended up just using a large screwdriver and scraping it out of the corners inch by sticky inch. After what seemed like forever, the rust was mostly gone, along with as much of the tar as I could possibly get removed. I cleaned everything up and then grabbed the gallon of OSFO that we had ordered. There are a million different rust conversion products out there. Well, it felt like a million anyways. After reading too much and watching way too many videos, this is what we finally decided, and it seemed to work out pretty well. We had an old handheld pump sprayer that we decided to sacrifice to the cause and use that to spray out the OSFO evenly. It worked great, and we were able to completely cover the entire floor of the bus in a thin layer of it. I figured it couldn't hurt to hit the entire floor, just in case. If I could go back and do it over again though, I would probably only do the spots that had rust on them. It quickly started turning black in those areas, showing that it was converting the rust like it was supposed to. However, the rest of the floor just formed a whitish residue that we had to wash off after everything had dried. We left it on there for a full 24 hours, then came in with a garden hose and a soapy brush to completely clean off the floor and get it ready for primer. I took my time and scrubbed it all thoroughly, then hosed it out again until there was no soap left on the floor. I took towels and wiped up the puddles of water that were left, then set up a fan to blow over the floor for the rest of the day so that it would be completely dry before we primed it. We decided to use the Rust-Oleum 7769 Rusty Metal Primer for the base coat, and if you decide to use the product, make sure that your space is very well ventilated because it smells absolutely terrible. I honestly should have probably been using my breather mask for this part, but as every single window was open with the fan going, it seemed fine at the time. I started by edging out the entire space with a paintbrush. This included all of the corners, all of the seams, and the entire side panel and seat rail that remained. It covered well enough and dried to the touch quickly. We still gave it a full 24 hours to cure though, before heading back into the bus to caulk every crack and crevice in the floor. We want to be sure that the floor is well sealed before we put our insulation and subfloor down, so anything that looked like it might need it was caulked. This includes every corner, every seam, and every tiny hole that I could find. Once that was done, we let it sit for another 24 hours. We feel pretty strongly that it is super important to give each step a chance to cure before moving on to the next layer. This makes the process take longer, but it should make it more durable and take less time to finally cure in the end. The next day, we went in and touched up any areas that needed it with more primer. That included all of the caulking that I had done the day before, and any spots that I had managed to miss on my first pass through the bus. The next day, the primer had dried nicely, and it was time to get all of the bolt holes left over from the seats and rails plugged up. There are a lot of different ways to do this as well, but we decided to go with squares of self-adhesive waterproof flashing. We were able to cut it into sizes that matched each hole, and it stuck down to the floor really well. This would not be the best solution if we were going to be walking directly on it, as the soft, rubberized asphalt would likely not hold up well to foot traffic, but we will be putting our insulation and subfloor directly down on top of this, so it should work out great. Once all of the holes were plugged, it was time to get our paint on there. We decided to go with another Rust-Oleum product, the 7543 Safety Yellow Protective Enamel. This time, Lindsay and I were both wearing our breather masks because it smelled vile. We started out by edging in the corners and seams with a paintbrush, just like we had done with the primer, making sure that we covered everything. Once the edging was done, I came back in with a roller to cover everything else. We let another 24 hours pass and then came back in and put down a second coat over the entire floor. Overall, this entire process took us about 2 weeks. It was tiring and it was stinky, but it really ended up looking great and set us up perfectly for the next chapter in our schoolie conversion saga, installing insulation and subfloor. If this is your first time here visiting Soul to Sun Chaser, it would be wonderful to have you subscribe. This channel is all about our schoolie journey, the good, the bad, and everything in between. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and check out our Patreon page or merch store to support the channel directly. Until next time, keep seeking adventure, chasing the sun.